There's a voice deep inside every dad calling him to lead. Society, vices, inner demons, negative thoughts try to dampen and drown out that voice, but it never goes away. Your wife feels it, your children feel it, and your heart and soul feel it too. It's the voice that starts off as a whisper, but then becomes a calling to be the tip of the spear for your family, a calling to play all out and lead by example for your children, a calling to build a legacy that will go on for generations, a calling to be the warrior dad you were born to be. Dads, our children need us now more than ever to be that beacon of hope, courage, positivity, and strength. It's time to rise as warrior dads together as a brotherhood. If you felt that twinge in your soul, it's time for the Warrior Dad Experience. Welcome to the show. I am extremely excited to have special guest Joe De Sena on the show. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm more pumped than you. I've been waiting for this show.
Well, I appreciate that. So I always like to start out family dynamic, kid situation in your household. Share that with the dads listening, and then we'll jump into rules for resilience.
Awesome wife, married about 20 years. I don't know if it's 21, 19. She's going to kill me if she hears this. Got 4 wonderful children, 2 boys, 2 girls. The boys are older, 18, 16. The girls are younger, 16, 11.
Gotcha. Okay. And now we've got, the rules for resilience, mental toughness for families. What was the trigger behind writing that book? I'd love the backstory and hear why you wrote it.
I was pushing our kids pretty hard. Definitely made some mistakes along the way, did some things I believe, at least at this point, were the right things to do. My wife was dead set against us not writing a kid's book. I convinced her because I brought Dr. Laura Pence to the party. She's a psychologist, so my wife felt we were somewhat safe if Joe had a doctor next to him to, kind of vet everything he said. But the philosophy was, I guess it started from a place of fear when they were young. I thought if the kids, wake up late in life in general, they start waking up at 10 a.m. If they end up living in our basement when they graduate high school, if they don't have work ethic, like that would be a disaster. And I don't know if it came from a place, just being honest, of my own ego or what it was, but I like to be around people that just get shit. I just love to be around people that get stuff done. They just work hard. They grind. Anything the world is throwing at them, they just deal with. They don't fly off the handle. And so how do we take these little creatures, my first time, like with all new parents, and make sure they have those qualities and attributes? And I don't know, we're gonna take them out in the cold in Vermont. They're gonna do hardcore sports. They're gonna ski. They're gonna wrestle. They're not gonna complain about food. If they do, they're just not gonna eat. This is the food we have. They're gonna be asked to do things that might be ridiculous. We're gonna run marathons at 7 and 8 years old. We're not gonna set any records, but we're gonna get them done. And as I'm seeing this unfold, I'm thinking, maybe parents just don't know, because everybody seems to be just handing over devices to kids. And I'm seeing very large children that are immobile and they're not active. And let's write a book. Maybe they need a book. That's how it happened.
Gotcha. And I went through it cover to cover. If you haven't gotten it yet, definitely pick it up. You can't until you can. Describe what that means to you. That's the first rule, one that I really loved and one that I preach to my 2 boys that are 15 and 13. Give some backstory on that one.
Yeah, none of us believe we can do what we haven't done before. we're held back. We have these limiting factors from society, from our parents, from whoever it may be that says, you can't do that, or don't do that, or what, maybe they just don't believe in you. And so it's a pretty amazing day when you learn you could pretty much do anything if you put your mind to it. So the more you could instill in the kids this idea that, yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it's hard. Yes, it might take a while, but if you stick with it, 90% of the things you want to do, you can get done. Now, if my young oldest son was on this call right now, he'd say, as he said when he was like 7, I can't fly. Okay, there's some things.
Right.
There's some things, but we didn't have airplanes for the entire existence of the planet. So somebody figured that out, right? And it's our job as parents to not only tell the kids they can get anything they want, they can get after anything, they can complete anything, but to show them, not just you doing impossible things, but having them get through the impossible, the seemingly impossible, and to set really high bars so that they're not living within, a low ceiling of what's possible for them. You can get into the best school if that's what you can get the best job. You could marry the best spouse. Like, you could do all those things if you put time. And I remember when I was a kid, I saw a BMW. It was next to the Chevrolet dealer where my mom was buying a car. And I was looking at that BMW and it looked nice. And she said, you could get one of those. You got to work. And so as long as you got to give them a path, a way.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that. And I kind of say, hey, paint the vision, and you see the vision first. They're not going to see it. So you have the experience. And if you can share the vision, I mean, my boys are football and basketball players. And my oldest, I sent a picture when he was at Penn State like 5 years ago of him overlooking the field. And I say, chase the vision, right? Where we need to see it and share it so they can start to believe a little bit more.
That's right.
Yeah. Love that. Love
right.
that piece.
One more. Let's go down one. So a buddy of mine is a guy named Yanni Diakomahalis. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. He won 4 NCAA titles, just graduated, on his way to the Olympic cycles. And when I've been to his garage, the most unlikely place, Rochester, New York, where his dad molded him into being one of the best wrestlers in the world, on the wall are slash marks. And I said, what are those? And they said, well, that's our 10,000 hours we spent in the garage. We marked them off every 100 hours. In the center of the room is an NCAA mat. And I said, why'd you get the mat? He said, because that was the vision. That's where we were going. And so I wanted them to get used to it at a very young age. And it worked.
I love that story, right? I mean, there it is. And they see it every day. And
every day.
That's so important to see that and visualize it and have it aware. Even if you're just stepping past it, subconscious mind is registering, hey, it's down there, and you know it's there. So, and show them what does show them look. I mean, you had some great stories in the book as far as, some of the crazy races you've done and grabbing kids, and what was it, the bike ride back from New York City to Vermont, you grabbed another somebody else to ride. What does show them look like it?
Yeah, not only was I doing crazy stuff without them, with them, but if they were 5 years old and I had a 13-year-old do a 275-mile bike ride with, and they heard that story, what happened? When I was growing up, my mom found a yogi, and that yogi believed in yoga, obviously, meditation, and becoming a vegan, but also believed in long distance running. And he started this race called the Transcendence Run. It's still a race that exists today in Queens, New York. It's a 1 mile loop. You just run around 1 mile, but you do it 3,100 times. It takes 50 to 60 days. And so if you're a young person like me and you're seeing your mom fast and not eat for 30 days, or you're seeing people run 3,100 miles around a 1 mile loop, talk about showing them. I got to really stretch my what's possible.
Right.
And so we need to do that with the kids.
Yeah, I love that. And then they follow, right? I get asked by dads, how are your boys in the gym all the time? And I say, because they've seen me doing it since they were 2, 3 years old, right? So we show them, they lead through that. What about earn not given? That's rule number 2. That was another
I
one
mean,
I
we
enjoyed.
all know that. Even the curmudgeons on social media that post what they post in comments, right? Like, we all know that we should earn our food, we should earn our place. I think some people forget, well, it's not really fair for the folks that didn't get it, and that's a bunch of nonsense. As long as you're showing the folks that maybe didn't cross the finish line or whatever it may be, the fastest time, as long as you're showing them the path on getting better and what best looks like for them, it just tastes better when you earn it. It feels better when you earn it. There's something, by the way, there's biology. I've had a bunch of doctors on the podcast. Our brains are actually wired to do work and then get the dopamine hit. So if you don't do work and you just get the dopamine hit, it starts to create havoc in the brain, which is what these devices are doing, because we can swipe and scroll and just get those dopamine hits, and we could hit Uber Eats. And if as a parent, if you could instill in the family that, no, we earn our, fill in the blank, it changes. By the way, think about those meals. The best, I remember once I had COVID. I was running, don't ask me why, 76 miles. It was hot. I was dying. I had like the whole thing was terrible. I had no money on me. I convinced this woman who was selling fruits and veggies on the side of the road to give me some grapes. It was the best grape I ever had I earned that grape, And so the meals that we remember, the moments we remember, the medals we cherish, like, those are the ones we earned. And the harder the challenge to get that reward, the deeper the memory, the more cherishable the memory.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I've taught that lesson to my boys, right? Do the hard things. You're going to be so rewarded from it. Is it going to be challenging? Yes, but that's going to make you not only physically tougher, but it's the mental toughness as well, right? I mean, that's the true gift in those physical challenges that you put yourself through. I know your family wakes up pretty early. You're blaring music, you're doing things. Give some backstory about that, because I love it. I mean, we get up, boys hit the gym, wife hits the gym at 5:15 in the morning, 3 days a week before school. I think it's an amazingly powerful thing to do. Connected as a family. What's your routine as far as daily?
Yeah, and so I was really nervous about. I just remember at a young age running my first business and having a tough time waking up employees and getting them there, the other kids on time to help me do the job. And, for just my goal was, how do I hardwire in the family this idea that we get up really fucking early? It was hardwired in me. My dad was running a trucking company for a moment in my life when I was a young kid. And he used to call his employees, the old dial phone, right? Hand me the phone. I've got it to my head at 5 years old. It's ringing. He's driving to their house, knocking on the door. So that was wired in me. Like, we wake up early. We get stuff done early when everybody's still sleeping. And so, yeah, I make no bones about it. And I make a lot of noise. It's not uncommon for me to have all kinds of music blaring, bagpipers I've had come through the house. They've got cold plunges early in the morning. They've got practice. And I'm with them. I'm up early. I'm doing it. This week they have no school, so I did let them all sleep. Because they do need sleep. And so, but I'm a believer that sleep should come on the front end. Go to bed earlier. Don't talk to me only about what time you wake up. What time do you go to bed? So people want to play that game with you. Like, well, they need sleep. Well, go to bed earlier. Why is he or she scrolling until midnight or 1 a.m? Like, that's ridiculous. We should set our alarm clocks at night, not in the morning.
Yeah, I love that. Digital sunset, right? Turn away tech, get to bed early. I mean, one of the greatest times of the day is if the entire family, and I've got 15, 13, I've got teenagers just like you do. we're all up in bed by 9 p.m. and we're able to wake up, we get a great night's sleep, and then we can stack wins in the morning and attack the day. Discipline, I think anytime somebody hears discipline, it immediately goes to like the negative side of it, right? And I think discipline equals freedom. You say discipline breeds responsibility. What's your take on discipline? How have you been able to instill it in your four kids? And what are some strategies for dads out there to, if they're not disciplinarians, they're not giving their kids that discipline, what are some small steps that they can take to do that?
I think I was really lucky. When I was growing up, we had some dogs, and we had a friend who was a German dog trainer. And no one wants to hear that kids are like dogs, but they are. We're animals at the end of the day. And dogs are a lot happier when they have, discipline, and they know what's allowed, what's not allowed, what guardrails we have. So I don't know. It was very obvious to me when we had our first child that we had to put some rules in place. But now that I've been through this for 18 years, I would say you've got to balance that as well with allowing them to be creative and cross the line and see what's out there. They can't be so disciplined in the sense that they just listen and follow and do they do need to test the waters. And as long as those are not fatal mistakes and they're not ridiculous, you should allow some of that. But by and large, they need to learn what many of us don't know in the United States, which is that if you stick to a disciplined routine, you actually have more time. You're more successful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's counterintuitive. Everybody hears discipline, they feel like, oh man, I gotta be in order. I'm gonna get yelled at. No, discipline. You get more time when you're actually structured and you do those things. And I do like the point of allowing them to test the waters, be a little bit creative. I like to turn the question around when they ask for my advice. I'll say, well, what's your gut tell you?
Right.
There's going to be a point in time, Joe, where I'm not there to give them advice. They're going to have to trust their gut and go with how they feel. I like to ask that question. What, from a physical perspective, I know you mentioned marathons with the kiddos. What are some small things that dads can get their kids involved in to move and start that physical and mental resilience that we're talking about today?
Somebody just sent me the question today. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they said, I have a 3-year-old. They said, can you give me a routine or something for them? And I said, if it were me, I'd figure out gymnastics, if you could afford it. And there was mat gymnastics near the house. Absolutely. From like 3, 8, 9 years old, they should just be doing mat gymnastics. I'm not expecting them to fly through the air off the rings or the bars, right? But they should be able to tumble and do handstands and sit-ups, and you fill in the blanks. Now, if you don't have a gymnastics, a coach or somebody nearby, you probably go on YouTube and you could figure out 10 exercises that you could repeat every day. For me, I think it was 15 exercises we did every single day for at least 8 years.
Wow.
And I named them after animal movements. I wanted to gamify it. It had to be fun. It had to be quick. It had to be something I could repeat every single day. And I had to be able to do it anywhere. If we were in an apartment, an airport, or wherever we were, we had to be able to pull it off. Living room. And so if you could envision, whether it's bear crawls or crab walks or a movement we called a scorpion walk, which was a back bridge where you were walking like this. They had to be a little more advanced for that, but they got it. Eventually, all of them got it. Handstand walk, lunge walk. We came up with all these cool names. There were about 15 of them, and we just did them every single day. And we're seeing, like I said, we did it for 8 years. Like, do you know what kind of discipline that required from me and my wife? Like, if we were in a hotel skiing, we were doing them in the hallway. We never missed a day. And when you look at them now, they are physical specimens because we just did it every day. We just We just did it. And so, it's so easy to take a day off or a week off, or it's a pain. We didn't operate that way. We just did it every single day.
That's incredible. 8 years, right? I mean, just think about that discipline they were building and that mental discipline muscle of, hey, we were, and I'm sure there's probably stories of when somebody wasn't feeling well or conditions weren't right in a hotel or wherever you were traveling. And you said, as a family, as a group, we're still staying
We're doing
committed to us. Do you have a story that pops out of when, there might have been an opportunity to not do it, or
I mean,
there were
there's
conditions
there's
wrong?
100 of them, but I remember in an airport, we were flying to Japan. We were probably in Boston, and I'm not getting on this giant flight 20 hours, and we didn't get our workout in. And so we're doing it in the airport. My wife is completely embarrassed. She is walking away from us and going to sit somewhere else, arguing with me. Do we really need to be doing this? And yes, we need, like, it did not matter. Wherever we were doing it.
That's incredible. I love that story. Where do you see your kids' future? Like, where are they headed? What hopes, visions, dreams do you have for
Well,
them?
I mean, look, I hope they could take this stuff, and I hope they could then, expand their lives and get after it. Hopefully they follow some of the program with their kids. I mean, we didn't talk about it. I made them also study Mandarin for those 8 years, and every single day doing their 30 minutes of Mandarin. And it's only recently that we've come off that program. They have it in school now, but the fighting in the house, once they hit, 16, 17 years old, it was just too much. And they were small. They were like robots. They just followed the program. Now they push back and this and that. But learning that second language, everybody should have a second language. It really rewires the brain. My oldest son, I didn't know, and I believe it came from the Mandarin. He can go, sit at a piano and hear any song and play it. Just hear it and play it. And I think that comes from all that Mandarin. So yeah, hopefully they can go build their lives, their families, and hopefully, most importantly, in this whole discussion, I hope they call me and hang out with me after they're gone.
Isn't that's the dream, right? Of being close when they leave and wanting to come back, and you have a full table at the house, right? One of the things that popped up in the book multiple times is you being an example and pushing other kids, right? In some of those stories that you shared. And I think that's so important for dads to realize. Like, you can not only be the example for your kids, but if you see a kid out of line and their parents aren't around, you need to step in and say some things. What's your take on that?
Little Ren, when I landed in Japan, we set up shop, first day of school. I hadn't met my friend's family yet. I have a friend who's married. I'd never met his wife or the kids. And they were taking the same bus as my kids on that first day of school in Japan. And kids came back, and we were taking them. The plan was, when they got off the bus, we were going to bring them to Kumon. Kumon's a great program. Everybody listening should put their kids in. It's a Japanese math system, very short, every single day. One of those routines again, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. And Ren, my buddy's kid, is kicking and screaming to his mom, and he's not going. And she is dressed perfectly. She's smiling. She's embarrassed. She doesn't know what to do with the kid. He's incontrollable. And so I just grabbed the kid, and I'm holding him, and I'm holding him firmly enough that he knows he's not going anywhere.
Right.
And I'm basically saying to him, I don't know if he understands, but I'm saying to him, we could do this for 12 hours. Like, you're not going to break me. Like you can kick, but you never are going to be disrespectful to your mom in front of me. Well, me and that kid had the greatest relationship for the next 12 months while we lived in Japan. I mean, he was awesome around me, to the point where the family would say, why is he that? Well, because I took a stand right from the day we met. There was you couldn't mess around. Like, this was our deal. This was our relationship. And I think that's a mistake many of us make is we don't put those guardrails in.
Yeah. No, I love that story. I think it was so powerful. What's next for Spartan? What's in the future for Spartan and the company?
Well, we're still nursing ourselves back to health from COVID. We're very, very close. There was some really touch and go moments the last 2+ years, to the point it was so bad where going to sleep was actually easier than being awake. And I had never experienced that before in my life. So those were really, really tough moments. But I kept thinking about Shackleton and his famous story of being stuck in the ice with his men for 2 years and having to eat dogs and seals to survive. And I just kept thinking, well, if Shackleton could do it, we could survive. So we're back on our front feet. We're coming after, the last bit here and back on offense and growing. So it's good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was listening to your interview with Rich Roll a couple of years ago, and just the outpouring of support you got from just random spots, and it was incredible to hear the story, and so happy that you've made it through. So what's your final parting thoughts, words of wisdom for dads in their dad journey and really growing resiliency in their children?
Well, you're gonna have about 10,000 choices to make along the way. And when you're thinking about whether to go the hard way or the soft way, the answer is almost always the hard way. Almost always. That's the right choice with the kids.
Love it. Joe, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. You're awesome.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Dare to be uncommon. Love, lead, legacy. Create a legendary day. And I'll talk to you soon.